You know, sometimes we start these podcasts and we don't really know what we're about to say.
This is Auto Collabs.
Including Michael Cirillo having his glasses on the top of his head, rubbing his eyes because he doesn't really even know what we're doing.
You know, he recently...
Like a cat. If you don't watch the video of these podcasts, you're doing yourself a disservice. You should at least some point go to, I don't know, just search Auto Collabs on the old Google thing and it'll come up and you'll just see us making a fool of each other. It's amazing.
It is because, you know, like I love little things like that you have to watch, like eyeglass adjustment culture. It's a thing.
Is it really a culture?
Excuse me?
Some people, like I'm a solid like 2-finger C shape adjust the glasses, but some people do the cat paw. You're gonna notice it now. They do it.
I didn't realize the cat
adjustments.
paw. I've never noticed that, but the second I notice it, Michael,
that's gonna be dangerous. Yeah, 2 fingers. I you know, you got the nerd,
That's
center,
the only other one
right?
I was thinking of.
Nerd center, the or single finger sides. You've seen single finger side.
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah. Just like that. Exactly.
You know they're poised to be creators because the single finger sides and the side C are people that know they can't put something in front of their face on camera.
Oh my god! So today's guest, by the way, is Kaylee Felio, aka the Parts Girl, with the PartsEdge podcast. She is a creator. Does she wear? I don't think.
She doesn't wear glasses. I haven't seen her wear glasses.
Okay, I was wondering because she's a creator. I always love when we have creators on the show.
Yeah,
because like they get to be on the other side. You know, like whenever we get to be a guest on someone else's show, it's just nice to have someone else managing the conversation. And Kaylee is obviously very passionate about content, but very passionate about the parts department and the fixed ops side of the business. So much so is that she started a podcast for her company. It's gotten a lot of traction. And I think they just released a white paper and they're doing all kinds of stuff. She's kind of leading the charge in a lot of ways for them. So it'll be great to have another creator on this show. And we'll see how she enjoys just sitting back and watching, you know, some of us make fools of ourselves while she gets to. So we hope you enjoy this conversation with Kaylee Felio.
All right, Kaylee, thanks for hanging out with us. It's so good to finally have you on the pod.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is awesome. I'm so excited.
Long time coming.
Well, one of our favorite things is hanging out with other podcasters because like we always love going on other podcasts because finally you don't have to ask the questions, right? You get to answer the questions. So you obviously let's start with that. You have your own podcast. Why did you start that? You have your own thing that you do that you like to communicate with. Where did the inspiration for that come from?
Well, it started with just, I kind of coined the brand, or I guess everyone thinks of me as the Parts Girl, which is great because I've been with PartsEdge for 12 years and that is the side of the business I know most. And that's where it started. I started the podcast because I wanted to bring more attention to the parts department. It's evolved into so much more though. My conversations are trailblazers in the industry. I, of course, highlight client success stories. And then, of course, just focusing on very specific parts topics that not a lot of parts managers get, you know, very like return process. What are you doing with your manufacturer programs? Those types of things. So it's been really great. And it's not called the Parts Girl podcast anymore. I've evolved it into just simply the PartsEdge podcast with, you know, Kaylee Felio, but I'm still the Parts Girl.
Is it Kaylee Felio, the Parts Girl still?
Yeah. It's still Kaylee Felio, the Parts Girl. I just felt like just calling it the Parts Girl podcast was very, it was siloing me. And I wanted the audience to feel more open and just, you know, really seeing the conversations more than just parts, I guess.
Well, I think that it's interesting because since you've been in auto, you've only been on the parts side of the business, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Tell us the story. How'd you get into auto?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I've told this story so many times. So I feel like it can get more exciting and better.
Well, you got to add some drama.
And then I jumped over a house into a pool. It's like, it just gets sideways from there. No.
I was a sandwich artist. No, literally though. I was managing a Subway restaurant. Yeah, Subway is how I got into it. And it's kind of interesting, the parallels between managing a Subway restaurant and the car dealership or the fixed ops or parts department side of things. So it's very interesting how that kind of lined up, because I was at Subway, I was managing an inventory. I mean, it was perishable, so there's that, but and it was not dealing with
there's that little thing. Yeah.
There's that thing. Obviously just it's a little bit simpler, I would say, but there's a lot of parallels with it. But anyways, I was managing it. I was very fortunate actually I helped build that location. So I was working in high school at this other location, and the owner was opening a new location, so I was part of that, and it was from the ground up. So she didn't bought a physical location, she built it, and it was in a business park, and I got to understand a lot of the business side, the marketing, dealing with the franchise, all of that.
A lot of parallels there.
So many parallels. That's wild. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I remember I would go to the meetings with the Subway, that's telling us how we have to change the process, and I'd be like, I'm probably that fixed ops director's like, you're gonna tell me how to do this? Like,
what do you know about making a sandwich?
What do you know about this?
You know how to collect franchise fees and royalties. You have no idea.
That's
why we put the cheese there and the meat there.
Yeah.
No idea. Right.
No idea. And two, the other thing to think about is what worked at that other location didn't necessarily work at this new location, because it was very heavy in Subway, you think lunch, but it was a business park. Our rush was very much in the
also very similar to automotive.
Yeah, very similar. So it's crazy.
You're there, you're sandwich artisting, you put this you help get this location set up from the ground up, and then you said, wait a minute, I could be doing the same thing with oil filters. Right?
No, I didn't actually think like that. But so the regulars, or the founders of PartsEdge, were regulars. Chuck, being a parts guy, very methodical, very routine. Like, I could probably recite his 3 sandwiches that he always got. He was like,
that's so wild. Yeah.
But anyways, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, man, I could remember it. Okay. But anyway.
Yeah, I can make it right now with my eyes closed. I mean, I could still make a Whopper with my eyes closed, because I worked at Burger King.
Yeah.
You just put me there, put me on Whopper board, I'll knock that sucker right out.
Isn't it so frustrating too? Like, I don't know.
Wrong?
Yeah, well, that, and especially with Subway, so you can see them in their process, and I would go and I'm like, oh my gosh, their process is so bad.
You can't even go to a Subway anymore. You're like, I can't watch.
I just want to show them how to do it.
Like, listen, that is not 3 ounces of lettuce, okay?
What the most frustrating thing was, we were so efficient because we had to be, with having the line out the door, we had to push and pull. Like, we couldn't be hopping around all the place. And whenever I go to a Subway now, I'm like, they're hopping all over the place. They could be so much more efficient if they just pushed the sandwiches down the line and everyone had their role and they did it. And you just, I don't know. I'm going on this.
It's a perfect fit. No. But so you're doing this, and the owners of PartsEdge are coming in, buying the same sandwiches, and you know them, you have them memorized. Yeah. And they were like, Kaylee, there's a future for you in the auto industry.
Pretty much.
How that kind of worked?
Yeah, they presented the opportunity. They actually asked me if I knew anyone looking, which I guess that's the old school way.
That's classic.
Yeah,
classic.
It went right over my head. I was like, no, I don't know anyone.
Do you like anyone whose name rhymes with Bailey, who may or may not work at a Subway we visit all the time?
Yeah, may not be you. Yeah. So I thought about it, and I think I even asked them, like, well, I would be interested in that. So that's kind of how it started. And I actually worked for them for, I think it was a good 6-7 months. And I went back to the Subway because it was really hard for me to leave what I had built there, and also going there for lunch and seeing them struggle. It was like, It was like my baby. I left it. So I ended up going back to Subway after 7 months, and then I left them again, Subway again, and went back to PartsEdge because I realized the bigger opportunity. Yeah, I was just like, of course it would be great to buy a Subway restaurant, but at that time I wasn't there, and I just wanted to that's all I ever knew. I wanted to do more. I wanted to learn. And so I went back to them, and here we are 12 years later.
Wow. 12 years, podcast later, multiple children later, right?
Yeah.
Like, your life is different now. I want to shift the conversation for a second, because you obviously have a very keen understanding of process and efficiency. You have access to all types of data. You interview all types of people. What do you see as like the innovative practices or technologies that people are deploying very successfully in the parts department and in fixed ops right now? Like, what's at the front of the pack?
Yeah.
Oh man, there's so much if you look at fixed ops as a whole, I would say the ones that are adopting technology for automation and just that mundane things that you just don't have to do anymore. There's solutions for that. And I just look at, I mean, you guys have a process, right? Everyone has a process for executing certain things that they want to do. And I think it shifts, it changes, you evolve and business grows or things happen and your team grows. So you have to constantly be looking at your process and think about how you can be most efficient with it. And I think parts departments or naturally parts managers are just way more in tune with efficiency. I think they're just naturally those type of people.
Do you feel like they're also most likely to be set in their ways?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Isn't that the dichotomy?
It's like,
right?
no, this is the process. You don't change it because this is what works, right? So very process oriented, but set in their ways, right?
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. That's the most frustrating thing I've experienced with selling PartsEdge through the last however many years it's been.
Yeah, there is a joke that, like 98% of parts managers in the industry came with the building.
Yes, there is. Yes. They were like, I've been doing this for 30 years. Yeah. Yes. Or 50.
And so it's frustrating. How do you communicate to them? Because obviously technology is being deployed at a faster velocity than ever, right? Mm-hmm. And so someone who is committed to efficiency and who really gets excited when I think legitimately gets super excited when they make something more efficient. Mm-hmm. How do you get them to open their mind a little bit to like consider a new technology?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like over the years I've evolved in my process of creating relationships. You can't just go to a parts manager and say, throw it in their face. Like it's creating the content and the information that helps them so that they see us as trusted advisors in their process. And I think that's really helped. When I started in the sales and marketing role, there was no marketing for PartsEdge. There was no content. So I went to our clients and really, honed in on what it is that we're doing for them. Also, talking about all the things that we talk about in inventory control and capturing that in a digestible way to learn. So giving the resources to help them.
Well, and it's not like, how many places can you go? I think about like, where does a parts manager go to like learn or find the new process? Like there's not actually parts and fixed ops are the only ones that actually ever get to go to 20 groups because they typically have like one thing a year and that's it. But there's not like much NADA is sales and marketing, right? Most conferences are sales and marketing. I think there's like one fixed ops conference put on by Mopar or something like that a year, right? And so there's not this like treasure trove of people talking about how they're challenging and changing specifically the parts department, right? Because it's normally when I hear fixed ops, it's even much more about the advisor, much more about check-in and the walk-around process and all that time. It's not about like the parts efficiencies, obsolescence, how to manage inventory controls, data retention, all of those type of things. And so that's a key point is you're saying you almost had to like create the education matrix in order to drive the behavior change.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I've done. So I think that's the best strategy. And I think the other area, or I don't know how to phrase this. Sorry, I'm like jumbling my words. But one thing I've noticed too is actually just calling it out as it is like, we're not for everyone. It's like hard to say that and not sound like an asshole. Can I say asshole?
No.
Yeah, sure.
You're so right.
But yeah, it's like you have to be innovative. You have to think outside of the box. If you want to stay where you are, PartsEdge is not a solution for you. So that's the other thing I had to realize too, is like, I can't force this. Like
that's the takeaway though. It's so strong. It's like, no, I don't think you're ready for this actually.
When you say that to people, sometimes they open up like, well, maybe I am ready for this.
Right. Some people are on the bubble, right? Like they're right on the edge. and it takes a little extra something to get them to try. But they have been like loitering with the intent to try something. And then there's those who just need to be right. And when you say things like that, you very clearly draw a line where if that other person has to be the smartest person in the room and their way is the right way, then you're literally wasting both of your time. Right? And saying that and drawing a line, you maybe encourage some of the people who have been considering to be willing to try it, but you also get the people who are all in to make a deeper connection with you immediately, saying like, oh, these are my people, right? Now I have an even more open mind to see. And then like getting to know as fast as possible is legitimately, I think, one of the least appreciated sales tactics.
You're absolutely right.
Right? Like, how do I get to a no? Because if I can get to a no fast, that's so much better. Like maybe is the worst. Maybe is the worst place to land. Yes is great. No is just as great. Maybe is the worst.
Maybe is the worst. You don't really know what they're thinking. It's just, I hate the maybes because it puts it off. It drags it off, and we're wasting everyone's time by doing that. So
if you're explaining, you're losing. That's how I think.
So I'd love to dig in just a little bit because obviously you're process driven. Back to the Subway days. This is a part of who you are. You're now with a company that is doing that. You know, a lot of parts management comes from like OEM portals. It comes from the DMS. It's kind of like legacy integrated, some level of integrations. What are the innovations that tech is enabling right now for parts managers to like change the way they view and manage their inventory?
Well, we've been around for about 30 years. So it's new, but it's very like process and very tested and accurate. So I think the biggest thing is the way that the DMSs are set up are not set up for parts people. That's the biggest thing. You go through a migration, or it was set up by someone that set it up 15, 20 years ago. So that's the biggest thing I think we see is the setups are outdated, and we go in and really ask the questions and figure out the way that they're doing business and implement a structure. But then we've created that technology that maintains that process. So when you look at all the parts that are added into a DMS every single day and where they need to go, it's almost like a lead getting added into your system, and it has to be tested. The life cycle of a part has to be tested. So that's what we're doing with the data, and it's automatically doing it for the parts manager. So then they can make better decisions on that data and what's getting produced by the DMS. You said something about manufacturers too. They're only really, that's the easy stuff. They're guaranteeing what sells. There's a percentage of the inventory that is selling that there's not really picking up or looking at. So we're looking at everything, if that makes sense.
You all recently released your very first white paper.
Oh yeah, we did. Yes.
Yeah. Did you forget about that one?
That was
that
cool.
was fun.
That's what generated all that conversation. No, tell us about it. Why did you decide to do a white paper, and what did you learn through releasing the first one?
Oh man, it was such a process, and it was great. And we're going to do another one, and we're going to keep on doing that because I think it really brings clarity. And the biggest reason why I wanted to do it was just showing the ROI of what your parts department can really bring and what PartsEdge really brings to the dealerships, because we are such a behind the scenes process. It's almost like if you look at like a little thing going into it's like connecting the DMS and the human part of it. So, that was a good process. It's very detailed. It does give you, tips and things that can help. You don't have to sign up for PartsEdge to, solve all your problems, but, it was much needed. I think we should have done it a long time ago, but it's a process.
It is absolutely.
Yeah.
And for this white paper, what do you think was the biggest value to someone who gets it or reads it? Like, what are they going to learn?
I think they're going to learn to look at their parts department as a true profit center, to get the tips that they really are, I guess, kind of that validation that they need for, true obsolescence, how to minimize that. And also just getting feedback from other people in the industry that are killing it. The biggest thing I love to add to that process was interviewing our clients and talking to them and getting their perspective. And one that resonates the most is he was like, you guys allow me to actually be creative. most of us in your day to day, we're just surviving. We don't have time to like really be creative. And
just keeping up.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this white paper would be something that, maybe a parts manager who is looking to be more creative or flex a little bit would share with their dealer principal or their general manager? Is this one of the things that kind of maybe open the eyes of the leadership to get a little more support for some new tech in parts and trying some new things?
Yeah, I like how you did that, because that's exactly what it is. Because that's what happens with GM's dealers. It's like they're
busy too, right?
Yeah.
And
because the parts manager came with the building, parts works, it doesn't suffer, it's all green money, and and seems like inventory is always good when we run it in December, right?
Exactly. So why change anything?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, there's an upstream awareness that definitely has to happen. I love it.
What are you looking forward to in the next 12 months, or for the rest of this year? We'll go that rest of 2025. Yeah. What's on the docket? We got 6.5 months left.
Oh man, I can't believe that's only.
I know, it's disgusting as it was coming out of my mouth. It was like, tastes bad. Yeah.
Well, okay, so I'm really on the growth path, and I've been talking about it a little bit in my content, but I'm positioning myself to become the CEO of PartsEdge. That's my goal. The founder.
I love that you just put that out there.
I love it.
Yeah,
they already know. Did you tell them? Well, it's on podcast.
They know. They don't know how it's all going to happen, and that's what I'm really working on. And creating that plan of how to actually execute that, because you can talk about it so much. You can say, "Oh, you're going to be the CEO one day," or "You can do this one day," but we need to create a plan to actually make that happen. And so that's my goal. And then, I don't think I'll be the CEO in 6 months, but
maybe 7.
Maybe 7.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Look, we have the future CEO of PartsEdge, Kaylee Felio, on the show today. Kaylee, it is always a pleasure when we get to talk to you. It's so great to have you on this show for the first time. Keep doing what you're doing and leading the way and inspiring us as well. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
I keep drawing this parallel, and I keep, you make fun of me every time I say this, Paul.
Me?
Yeah,
I would do such a thing.
When I say this, you're gonna make fun of me again.
I'm waiting for it.
But I think that if used car departments hired bartenders and restaurant managers that were responsible for inventory management, and in that pace,
first of all,
right, where perishables are a reality, right? And if we looked at a used car more like a perishable, something that needed to be turned, we needed to have the right thing for the right time for the right person, we might be better. And I think, for the parts department, I think it probably maps a little bit more than maybe we all think it does.
Clarifying statement number 1, I have never once made fun of you for saying that. Clarifying statement number 2, I don't know that I've ever heard you say that. Maybe you're talking about Michael.
Okay.
Don't try to.
It wasn't me. That was intellectual.
Granted, I do forget a thing from time to time.
Okay, but there are onion layers to what you just said. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's the hospitality layer. Yes, the inventory management side and understanding how to track inventory and make sure that it's consumed before perished. But then there's the hospitality side of that.
Yeah. True. I will tell you what. I've never heard anyone call their shot on a show like Kaylee just said. I'm going to be the CEO of this company.
That was so strong.
Yeah.
Oh, that gets me fired up. Which is all
possible in the car business. That's why we do what we do, is because we want people to see the possibilities that are available to them inside the car business.
Well, literally, she's telling the story from sandwich artist to CEO. Right?
Oh, that's a book. That's a song. That's a podcast. That's everything. Let's go. Hey, on behalf of Paul J. Daly, Michael Cirillo, and myself, Kyle Mountsier, we really hope you enjoyed this conversation and this episode of Auto Collabs. We'll see you next time. Welcome to Auto Collabs. Why are we recording?
Are we rolling yet?